In this video I'm going to show you some of the annuals that we're growing from seed this year. It is so good to be back in the summer house, in the spring, beginning to sow our first seeds. Now this year we've got a few favourites that we know we've tried before and we've got really good results from, and also some new varieties which we're going to try for the very first time. So first up is a variety of Cosmos. So we have this year 3 different varieties we're going to sow, 2 of which are brand new to us and 1 is a firm favourite. So I'll start off with one of the ones we've never tried before. I don't really know how you pronounce it. I'm going to have a try. It's got an X and an S as a starting point for the first couple of letters. So Xsenia, so Cosmos Xsenia. I do apologise if I'm pronouncing that wrong. This one grows to a nice height of 50 to 60 centimetres. So great for a container, which is probably where we'll end up growing them. So if you've seen our channel before, we usually sow a lot of our seeds into module trays. And these are the type of tray I'm talking about, where they've got individual compartments. You can get these ones which are fairly big, and you can get smaller ones to start your seeds off. But because we've recently bought this propagator, which is a windowsill propagator, and it comes with trays like this, which are just basic trays, I'm actually going to use these because these are going to need some warmth to grow. You can't put these outside. These are half hardy annuals, so they're going to need some warmth, and they can't be planted out until the risk of frost has passed. So whichever region you come from, whether it's in England, whether it's America, Canada, Australia, wherever you live, you need to look up to see when your last frost date is, and then you can work out a few weeks before that when you can start to harden these plants off, and that is just a process of getting them acclimatized to the outdoor temperatures. If you think I'm just talking absolute gibberish, just take a look at the previous video we did last year. I'll put a link to it above on what is hardening off, and there's also a link above there that I'll also add with how to grow Cosmos, and that's like an entire process from seed to growing to flower. So I'm going to start off with these ones. So these are a beautiful, they're like a pink, but they have multitude of different shades of pink in them. So on the back it says there are one of a kind terracotta orange petals edged with rose pink. And according to this, the colour tones change depending on the sunlight. Ideal for borders, containers, and as you know, Cosmos is great for a cut flower. So I'm going to pop these into one of the first trays. So firstly I'm just going to get the tray and just fill it with some multi-purpose compost. So this is just a normal peat-free multi-purpose compost that I'm using. I'm just going to use the bottom of the next tray just to firm that down so that it's got a nice flat bed for the seeds to anchor down to when they start to grow roots. So this is going to be an amazing Cosmos. I do like to try different ones. I don't like to always grow the same ones every year, and there's that many different choices of Cosmos. It's endless, you know, every colour pretty much under the sun. So I'm going to get the seeds out, and it says there's going to be 25 seeds, so I'm probably going to sow them all in this seed tray. So Cosmos seeds are quite thin and a bit irregular shaped. Some seeds that you see us growing are round, but these ones are a nice different kind of shape, a bit longer. So I'm going to sow all of these thinly over the top of the surface of this compost. So I'm going to try as best I can just to space these out so that they're not too close together. One's just gone to the side there, so I'm going to get that one out there, that's better. And that will just mean that it will help when they're starting to grow they're not competing too close together, and I won't have to rush and get them planted and transplanted out into their individual containers too quickly. At this time of year there are so many jobs in the garden to be getting on with, so we don't want to be in a situation where we're having the plants growing and we're having to need to get them moved on really quickly. So I think I'm probably not going to sow all of these, I'm just going to sow that many, and I'm going to save some, just a few. And then Cosmos seeds, they don't need light to germinate, so all we need to do, I'm using vermiculite, so this is just a lovely vermiculite that we use for covering up seeds. You can use more compost if you like, you can use grit, just so long as they're covered over. I'm just giving them a generous layer over the surface. Covering all of that compost over. Then the final thing to do is give them a firm down with your hand, and that just makes sure the seeds are in close contact with the compost below. And then we'll write a label. So these ones are Cosmos, and that name that I can't pronounce. Xsenia, it could be. Xsenia. And the date. And that can just go into the side. Now I will be watering all of these at the end. And I'll be watering these in the actual tray, putting water in the tray below, and the water will then get taken up by the soil and they won't disturb the seeds on top, and that will then just thoroughly drench the compost and get them started for germination. I'm just going to put that to one side. On to the next one. So the next one is another variety of Cosmos, and this one's called Apricot Lemonade. Now that does look absolutely delightful. So this says on the back, the first early flowering apricot Cosmos, and it's a unique one from the Thompson & Morgan's own breeding. So that's the brand that I'm using at the moment, Thompson & Morgan. So these ones grow to a height of 50 to 70 centimetres, so a little bit taller than the previous one. And it feels to me like the seeds are loose in the bag, which is never a good thing because I always end up spilling a few on the process of getting them out. Yep. So another tray we're going to use, and we're going to fill with compost. So we're not filling these trays all the way to the top because we do need to leave some space for the vermiculite to go on the top. And then let's get sowing these ones. So again, I'm probably not going to sow them all. This packet says it has average of 40 seeds, so that's more than I'm ever going to need. And I'm just going to sow them again very thinly on the surface of the compost. Sometimes you end up dropping more than one at the same time, so I'll just make sure that it's a little bit spaced out. Probably that's going to be enough. Pop the rest back. And then with the vermiculite again, just sprinkle that over the top. and firm it down. And then with another label, so this one is Cosmos Apricot Lemonade. Put the label in, and we can go on to the next one. So the very last Cosmos variety I'm growing is one we've grown not last year but the previous year, and this one is Cupcakes Blush. Now this again is a very remarkable, lovely colour. So this one on the packet shows it to be quite a pink colour, but when we actually grown these from seed, they turned out to be more kind of creamy white with a very tinge of pink. So not as pink as it's showing on the actual packet. But as you know, seeds are in the open pollination, and they do get some different kind of variations to colour. So if you don't always get what you thought you're going to get on the seed packet, it's just because they've not been controlled. You only get the true parentage of seeds and plants when you actually buy a packet that has F1 as part of the title. So if it says F1, it just means that they have specific parents. They have known parents and they're not in open pollination like your garden would be. So the bees come along, they pollinate the flowers, they might go from one Cosmos variety to another Cosmos variety. They're taking the pollen from one, depositing it onto the other one, and then you're ending up with some kind of variation. So that's what we mean by when some seeds say they don't always come true from seed. What that just means is they don't always show the same characteristics as the parents. F1 seeds should be identical to the parents because they have very controlled parentage and they don't allow them to grow in amongst other flowers with different varieties. That's what that means. So these ones, speaking of open pollination, were actually collected by ourselves the year before last. So these are seeds from the plants that we grew from the original packet. So there's probably going to be a bit of variation again. So into the trug for some compost. Put a nice layer of compost in the bottom. And then just firm it down. So for this one, let's get these seeds out. And let's scatter them over the surface. This is quite a tall variety. If I can remember, look at the packet, it grows to 1.2 metres. So this is the tallest of the varieties we're growing this year. And I think we had some of these in our front garden. And also we gave a few to Andrew's mum. She planted these in her front garden as well and she loved them. So I think she'll be quite happy that we're growing these again this year, because we can pass some on to her too. So I'm growing up a few more than normal because I know Andrew's mum's going to want a few of these too. And then some vermiculite over the top. And just spread that out along the surface of the tray. And let's press those down. And with a nice label, so it's Cosmos Cupcakes Blush and the date. And again, we'll water those in a little while. The next few seeds are actually calendulas, so these are pot marigolds. And we have a new variety and one that we grew last year that I just absolutely adored. So let's go with the new variety first. And now I'm going to use a module tray for these. So I'm going to fill these up with compost. Pressing down in each module the compost as I go. So don't want to be putting too much in it, so press it down, making sure you leave a bit of a space at the top to cover the seeds over with. Okay, so that is the tray ready for sowing. So the variety I've chosen that's a new one is one called Neon. So if you can see that, that has a lovely bright orange. It grows to about 60 to 70 centimetres. And it can be an absolutely, it says profusion of small but dazzling flowers all summer long. So we're really looking forward to this one. Andrew likes his vibrant colours, so he'll be quite happy with this vibrant orange. Now these seeds are probably the most fascinating you'll ever get to see. And I also think they look like little fossils. Absolutely fascinating. And because I've got a module tray, I'm just going to sow one in each actual module. If that has a seed or not, but I'm going to put that in. There's two. And then the rest can go back for another time. And then same again, using the vermiculite just to cover those seeds over. And then give each one a press down so that they're in close contact with the soil beneath. And then we'll write a little label out. So these are Calendula. And then Neon. The date. And I'm going to pop that in the side like that. So that's the tray all done, and like I said before, I'll get these watered from beneath when I've finished all the sowings today. And then the next variety that I'm going to sow is one called Snow Princess. So a beautiful pale lemon. It's absolutely stunning. And as you can see on the picture, some will have the brown centre and some will have the yellow centre. So that's remarkable. So I think these grow to around 60 centimetres tall, and they have the beautiful lemon yellow flowers. Nice and open, so they're perfect for pollinators. So let's get these ones sown. So I'm going to fill the compost up. Press the modules down, get the compost a little bit firmer, a bit more in some of these. and then let's get sowing. So again, very unusual shape, but absolutely fascinating. I'm sticking one per nodule. And vermiculite over each one. And then press them down. And I've already got one that I've used from last year, so I'm going to pop that in, and I'll just put the date that I'm sowing. So that's everything I'm going to sow today. Sown. So I'm just going to show you what I mean when I say I'm watering from the base. So all you need is a tray that doesn't have holes in it. And what you want to be doing is putting some water in the bottom of that tray. And placing that tray inside. And what will happen is the water will be drawn up through the dryish compost. I mean, the compost wasn't absolutely dry, but it will draw up that moisture, and you'll get to see the vermiculite. It's very, very pale brown at the moment, and when that starts to get moist, it will then turn a bit of a darker brown, so you'll know. And you can also feel the top of it, and when you can start to feel that they're actually moist, that's when the tray is ready to take out of there and put somewhere else. And just monitor it like that, and when you start to see these starting to get dry, do the same process. Add some more water and let them draw the water up. So I've got two of those, so I'll just place those on the floor for a second. So let's get the second one done. And then just pop that inside just like that. So these are all the cosmos that I've sown today, and they do have little hats. So on each one is a little propagator of its own, and the hats can go on, and that just serves to keep the moisture in and help them to get a bit of a higher temperature in order to germinate. And what we need to do with this is, like I said before, we're going to be putting these on the window ledge. So I'm just going to fill this up with water. And I'm going to be allowing the seed to draw up the moisture from below. And that just stops the seed from getting dispersed if I was to water from the top. And if you want to know where this propagator came from, this was $5.99 from Home Bargains. So take a look at the previous video, I put a link to it above, that just talks through some of the bargains you can get from discount stores like Home Bargains. And this is a perfect thing that can go on the window ledge, and once we start to see the germination, we can also then let them get a little bit larger until they get the true leaves, and then we can prick them out into individual containers and grow them on up until a large enough size. And like I said, when the weather gets past that risk of frost date, so for us it's towards like the end of May, in different parts of the country and in other countries that is going to differ. Of course, some countries don't get frost, so this isn't an issue. You can actually grow these outside as annuals. So that's all the seeds I'm going to grow today. And thank you so much for watching. I do hope you found this enjoyable and informative. And please drop any comments as usual in the comments box below the video. Give us a like, hit that subscribe button, and we will see you very soon on the next video. In the meantime, please do take care, and as always, happy gardening.